Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to game number 3 in this 5-game show match on custom maps between Szalami and Core. This time around, we're jumping into a map called Crater. We're going to have, as you see, a little crater with the 2 players in it, surrounded by cliffs with 4 exits to the outer rim of the map. Down south is going to be Szalami, deleting that mosque right away as he's playing in the blue with the Delhi, and up north you're going to have Chinese for Core in red. So Chinese versus Delhi here. I'm curious to see what the Delhi player is going to do, because one thing I'm sure about is that the Chinese player will try to be very aggressive. Forward Barbican of the Sun is not impossible on this map, of course. As you see, the players are once again very, very close to each other. On the outside, you do have quite a lot of forests. In fact, most of the map on the outside is just a big forest. You do have some gold mines, you do have some relics, and some sacred sites, but most of the fighting, of course, will be going on in this central area. Now, as you see, Core is scouting the outside rim here. He's hoping to find some sheep over there, and so far, he has been successful doing that. Meanwhile, for Szalami, he was looking for sheep in the internal parts of this map, and he was moderately successful. Only found 3 sheep, though. He's working on the berries for the time being, so of course that's not a big deal for him. And we'll have to take a look at the wood lines of the players, because one of the things that you don't have a ton of on this map is going to be wood. As you see, basically you have a couple of trees to chop for both players close to their bases, and they would have to move towards the outer rim to get any access to wood. Meanwhile, for the hunts, as you see, those are accessible all across the map over here, but basically they're all situated towards the middle part of the map, so you will have to fight for those potentially. Core is operating with 1 Imperial officer supervising his mill, but of course, he's gonna have to start mining gold early for this one then, because the more you delay mining gold, the more you slow down your feudalation with the Chinese. That's obvious, of course, that's a thing for all civilizations, but especially for the Chinese now, they did invest into the Imperial officer, so you lose some gold on it, and the tax gold income, while it's definitely helpful, it's not going to be enough to compensate at the beginning for the cost of that officer, so you invest into that officer, you need to mine gold a lot sooner than you would have to without investing into an officer on this balance now. We got 1 mosque already operating here for Szalami, so he's going to have efficient production queued up, followed by piety at least for the time being. Sanctity could be a thing for him, he might just change piety to sanctity once he gets to feudal age, but of course for now priority is on efficient production and being able to field a large army right away. Core, he's got the food for feudal age, but as you see, he doesn't have the gold. That's the thing here with the Imperial officer. You can no longer just pop out an officer and just live off from the tax gold income on this patch. You will need to mine gold if you go for an officer. It's not a big problem, but you need to plan for this one. And as you see, he's still 60 gold away, and this is going to delay his feudal age time quite a bit. Now the good news for him, of course, is that, if you think about it, the Chinese build their landmarks quite fast, so even if he falls behind when it comes to the feudal age timing compared to the opponent, he can catch up by building that landmark a little faster. As you see, Szalami's got his scout right next to his base, he's looking over what exactly his opponent is up to, whereas on the other side, Szalami is just now going up with the Dome of Faith, so no Tower of Victory for us today. Core is pulling the villagers, and as you see, the reaction is immediate from Szalami here. Core is trying to drop a Barbican right next to his opponent's base here. He was trying to flank around, trying to hit that gold mine. Looks like he gets the foundation going. So the question now becomes, can Szalami stop this one? Szalami is pulling everybody. That's exactly how you stop a Barbican drop. Barbican at 50%, but there are so many villagers already going down here from the red Chinese player. Some of them pushed away from the landmark. It's around 60-70% completion. Still some villagers building it. Another villager will go down on the north. I think this is going up. A couple of villagers will probably die here. It's gonna be really close. Yep, it goes up. And I think most of the villagers were able to jump in there as well. So in the end, the Barbican goes up, couple of villagers were heavily damaged, Core is going to retaliate by taking down that 1 scout, and now the big deal is, I just wonder if this landmark here for Szalami is within reach of that Barbican. Because if it is, he can technically stop the feudal age process of Szalami. Looks like the Barbican is shooting at the villas. If Core just garrisons his own villagers inside the Barbican, he could have stopped this food age progress potentially from Szalami. Looks like Szalami is getting up, but when the dust settles, you're going to be looking at 16 villagers for Core. He lost some building that landmark, 17 only for Szalami. He's trying to finish his feudal age landmark here. He lost another villager doing that. So in the end, it is only 16 versus 17 villagers. Holy potatoes, was that an intense mid-game here. Well, we can't even call this mid-game because it was only 5 minutes. Core pulled the villagers, and for a moment it seemed like Szalami was gonna be able to stop that landmark. Szalami is going to move to the outside here. He's going to have 13 villagers chopping trees on the outside. This is not something that Core noticed just yet. Core, for now, he isn't even chopping trees. He's moving in with the walls on the right side. That's a clever move. It's a very clever move if you think about that. If he does the same thing over here, he would have a ton of safety at the back, and this would give him safe gold mines, safe wood, even some safe berries, or even a boar here. So that could be a great thing to do. But of course, the key thing for him is that he would be able to wall away this sacred site from the opponent. And that's not something that you should overlook either. Looks like it is indeed Sanctity now coming up for Szalami. He's dropping a defensive tower on his berries. There is no signs of aggression now from Core. He dropped the Barbican and he's like, okay, I'm done. He's got enough resources for Song Dynasty and now he's mining stone. It would be very cheeky for him to play Song Dynasty 2 Town Centers. So I'm just thinking that he will just use this stone for tower upgrades in the future. But he's not chopping any wood, so there are some uncertainties over here for Core. Or this might be a fast castle actually. He might be going Castle Age straight away, which would be very ambitious on a map that's so tight and, you know, technically so aggressive if you just look at the location of the players. But given the fact that Szalami was set back quite a bit, so was Core, by the way, but of course he's got the officer supervising the mill for him to increase his food eco. He's got some tax code to work with as well. So Core could get to Castle Age here in the next 1 or 2 minutes, and that could be even with the clock tower. Like, drop the clock tower over here, establish a great forward presence, and actually, you might be even dropping that clock tower right over here. Because that way, if you set up some trebuchets, you can start shutting the 2 landmarks of the opponents, and that's it. Your trebuchets will be guarded by the Barbican as well. But I'm thinking that Core wants to get up to Castle Age and then go for a castle here. Although he's moving out to the left side, I think that might be just for stone walls. He might try to stonewall this off for the time being. But ultimately, given the fact that he still continues mining stone, I'm thinking it's going to be a fast castle into a castle drop here. He wants to punish his opponent for the previous game, that's for sure. Looks like we have a stable. Right now there is no scholar inside that stable to boost the production. A couple of horsemen will hit the field here for Szalami. Looking at Salami's resources, he's very far away, of course, from Castle Age. He's basically empty when it comes to resource banks. But he's grabbing all those upgrades, and slowly but surely, the power of the Delhi could start appearing, and a couple of those villagers, in fact, many of those villagers here for Core are heavily damaged. So you have to be very careful which villagers you pull for a forward castle, potentially, because many of these are just one hit for a horseman. Looks like indeed we have a stone wall being dropped right now by Core. Szalami is going to try and block this one. On the right side, it's not possible for his opponent to capture that sacred site. We have one horseman. Actually, that's just a scout here for Core. Imperial Palace on the way for Core, so same concept or Core than what we have seen from Szalami in the previous game. He doesn't even want the clock tower, he just wants to know where the opponent's villagers are at. Now, we have a tower coming up here for Szalami. He isn't messing around. He blocked the wall with his scout, and now he's pulling 2 villagers to make a tower. And by having a tower over here, he could prevent his opponent from denying that sacred site. Response for Core is going to be a stonewall tower over here, and this would prevent his opponent from capturing that sacred site. Horsemen are now coming in, villagers are being pulled, they want to stop this stonewall tower, and they might be able to. All of these villagers for Core are full HP, but no textiles on them. Tower at now 80% completion, but another horseman hits the field, and I don't think this is going up for Core. This is not going up for Core, and Szalami is going to be able to stop the stonewall tower. He's able to stop the stonewall foundations over here. He gets his tower up here, and he gets the sacred site. Now, the concern for Szalami is that he's still very far away from Castle Age, and as you see, his opponent, he's in Castle. So now the question becomes what exactly Core is going to do, because now he has spent all his stone on this stonewalling attempt. So no forward castle, no military whatsoever for Core, or anything like that. So he's up to Castle Age, congratulations, but what exactly are you doing with that? He could go to Song Dynasty as well, with the resources he has. But so far, he shows no signs of aggression, whereas on the other side, Szalami, given time, he would be able to get up to Castle Age, especially controlling one sacred site. He has gotten a sacred site on the left side. Berries are slowly running out for Szalami, but as you see, his food count is looking pretty decent, and there are some berries on the right side as well for him to take. There's a new patch of berries here, so Szalami isn't going to run out of food anytime soon. Gold is a bigger concern, but of course, he's going to have the sacred site working for him, which definitely helps. Horsemen are now coming in, and as I said, many of these villagers for core are heavily damaged. Looks like the first barracks is now out, palace guards are being queued up. Barracks now being supervised to the supervisor, and as you see, Szalami wants to take down that officer. He knows very well that that officer is very valuable now. Only 75 HP as well. So 75 HP costs 50 gold, 100 food to make, and of course, it is extremely important for core so that he can keep his palace guard production nice and high. Looks like Szalami gets away with a kill on the scout, but now the palace guards will push away those horsemen. And with that, the palace guards are ready to roll. Keep in mind that Szalami's landmarks are both very exposed over here right next to the Barbican. In the meantime, looks like Szalami is going to give up on his starting base. He's going to give up on his starting base entirely, I think. Because as you see, he's making some walls over here. He's got the resources for Castle Age in a second. And I would think he's going to drop his House of Learning over here on the outside. This way, even if core destroys these two buildings, Szalami isn't gonna care. Now, if he really wants to do that, he should pull the sheep and try to salvage as much as possible from his starting base. Walls are coming up once again, and there is indeed the House of Learning. Could have been a little bit more to the back, but it might be difficult to place it on this elevation terrain. But the idea is clear. You want to make sure that this third landmark is as far away from your starting base as possible, because you're expecting your opponent to start pushing your starting base in a matter of seconds. Speaking of which, indeed the palace guard numbers are steadily increasing. I don't see a blacksmith just yet though for core, so he isn't going to be able to make rams just yet. And core is also running low on berries here, so core is going to have to adjust his eco here for a split second, and that's going to slow down his push as well. As weird as it sounds like, Szalami is getting some time here to climb back into this game. Because core was able to beat him to Castle Age quite a bit, but now Szalami is up as well. Core mining stone quite heavily now. Is this the time for the castle? I think it is. Meanwhile, Scholar coming out here for Szalami. He wants to pick those relics up. This relic was actually floating over there in the middle of nowhere. But would you look at that? Szalami being able to pick those relics up. There is two relics over here on the left side as well. So Szalami would be living on quite a lot of relics. And that's definitely helpful for him. Two relics are on the right side. Those are mostly inaccessible for him. But he would still have 3 relics available, which is not a bad thing, especially given the fact that the central area is completely under the control of core. Now, since core has the central area, of course he can go for the deer, and that's going to help a little bit for his food eco. And the palace guards are moving to the left side here. Szalami will try to pick that relic up here. That's actually just a glowing nothingness. The relic is not physically there. Volotemp might be there for Szalami. He's making a run for it for the walls. It looks like he's just going to... Oh, there's the Vololo. There is the Vololo. Behind the walls, he's safe, so he can pop the Vololo. Nice reaction from core to pull away the palace guards. Core is going for that sacred site, that's obvious, as Szalami will try to make a run for it with that scholar. Keep in mind that if the palace guards get through these walls, they can just run straight into the base of Szalami. So that's something that Szalami will have to address. For now, he's repairing that gate, but this is not going to live for long. The gate is slowly being burnt down, and the palace guards will have a chance to come in and neutralize that sacred site. New villager was dispatched for the walls. Oh, look at that. That's cheeky. That's very cheeky for Szalami. Core didn't kill the villager, which gives a chance for Szalami to vote this in once again, which means that these forces are now isolated from the rest of Core's army. Which means that Szalami can clean these up, and Core has no chance of saving these. In the middle, there is the castle drop coming in, though, and this castle drop basically means that the Dome of Fate and the Town Center will be gone for Szalami here. He's gonna have to call off his forces. He has gotten the siege engineering upgrade for his infantry, and he's still grabbing a couple of blacksmith upgrades, but ultimately, now Core has the chance to take down the starting TC, even the mosque over here, and of course the Dome of Faith. Palace guards are now flooding through. Crossbows and men-at-arms will meet them on the battlefield. Szalami should have enough here to hold this off. And now, Core is going to bump into a nasty surprise, because guess what? The palisade walls are now complete again, which means that there is no chance of escaping. I don't think Core realized that he has gotten walled in. And now, even if he tries to burn his way through the walls, I don't think that he can burn his way through fast enough, because the crossbows and the man-at-arms are chasing, and Core is like, oh shoot, it's a trap. Now he's going to try and focus down the crossbows, of course, because the crossbows are the main damage-dealing unit over here. But the men-at-arms themselves, they will take good fights against palace guards. And as long as the crossbows are alive, this is not a fight that Core can win. He understands that, and he's just going to try and trade off those palace guards to the men-at-arms. This is a great fight here for Szalami. He's going to clean this counter-attack up, trap this army in here, and the value that he has gotten for this is actually pretty decent. Trade off what seems to be 3 men-at-arms for 8, 9, 10 palace guards. That's reasonable. Core is creeping closer and closer to these walls, though, and let's not forget that the House of Learning isn't far away from these walls, as the man-at-arms are now coming through. Own Blades is just now finishing in 10 seconds, which means that those man-at-arms will become even stronger. Looks like the tower is going up here for Core nonetheless. He's going to have enough villager power here to make it happen, and he's going for the Spring Oldham placement on it. So Core could still crawl closer and closer to the opponent's base and then just start setting up trebuchets in the middle. And then trap this down. In fact, the genius move from Core would be to send villagers in to make a wall here. And if he makes a wall, he would have the chance to set trebuchets up behind that wall and start shelling this House of Learning, which is the only landmark that Szalami would have after losing the Dome of Faith and the TC. Which, by the way, are still standing, so it's not like Szalami lost a single landmark so far. 46 villagers right now for Core. And on the other side, Szalami is sitting at 44. So the villager counts are still pretty much comparable. Szalami didn't capture the sacred site again after it was lost, but Szalami does have some relics to work with. He's got 2 to be precise. There is a third one here that he could pick up any moment, but so far he didn't do that. Core's got a ton of food in the bank. Not a lot of gold though. And that's definitely going to be a little concerning for him. He could technically cap the sacred sites, but I don't think that he has a monastery. He actually has a monastery here. He was supervising that even, and now he's moving out for what seems to be... Why is he moving that way? He's healing up the vills first. That's not something that you see every day. It makes some sense, especially if you have some time, because as I said, many of those villagers were damaged. Crossbows now coming out on the other side. Looks like they will take down a couple of lancers, and Szalami is ready to counterattack this. Keep in mind that Core's army here in the middle is not spectacular. He mostly had palace guards and lancers. The crossbows will deal with all of them, and now Szalami is getting some palisade walls up with those infantry units. I just wonder, I really wonder, how Core is going to start pushing this, because as you see, Szalami is getting layer after layer of trenches up here with these infantry units. And the thing is that inside the base of Szalami, I mean, he still has villagers working right next to that town center. Core was never able to punish his opponent for pretty much abandoning this base. This castle is just completely ignoring those villagers. I think it's actually outside its range. But still, as I said, Core wasn't able to punish this position here for Szalami at all. Szalami has moved to the right side as well. He's finishing up the berries there. And now Szalami is going to get closer and closer to a different problem. Lack of space. Because as the berries disappear, he's gonna have to start adding farms, and he doesn't have space for farms. This outside area has very limited space to work with, and that could be a problem. Now, Szalami's plan is clear. He wants to get back here, he wants to get Trebuchet out, start shelling that castle. Now, Trebuchet is under fire by the Springold Tower, and so far this is not something that Szalami has noticed. He's just now pulling back that Trebuchet. It's already heavily damaged, so he has to be careful not to lose it. Looks like he's setting up the trebuchets right now. He's taking out the tower, and with that, the trebs should survive. Up north, he's got some crossbows, and those are picking off the knights that are spawning immediately. Response is going to be horsemen now by Core. Core's got a monk picking up the relic. It's being eaten by a wolf right now. We'll come back for this one later. Gotta wonder if the wolf is going to be able to finish off that monk. Trebuchet is now out for Core as well. He's starting to take down that town center. Of course, Szalami can afford to lose the TC and the Dome of Fate temporarily, especially if he has a chance to push the middle, because look at that, that's exactly what we're seeing. It's exactly what we're seeing here. 3 trebuchets for Szalami, and it's trench warfare time. He's pulling the infantry, getting some more layers of walls up. He's evacuating the villagers. And now, He's starting to take down this castle here. No repairs coming in from Core. 49 villagers for our red player Core. It is 54 for Szalami, and he's got 42 army as well. 96 population over just 61 from the opponent. So suddenly the population is starting to look very healthy here for Szalami. He's going to be up against quite a lot of veteran horsemen. Crossbows won't work that well against them, but the men-at-arms with own blades, they'll be fine. Looks like the castle is down, and with that, even the starting TC doesn't get taken down by Core. He still has a chance for that with that one Trebuchet, but at this point, Szalami was able to keep his starting base alive. And the reason why this is so impactful is because that mosque was out there for basically the entire game. He was able to keep grabbing those blacksmith upgrades with this mosque and this blacksmith. This was never punished by Core. And with that, Szalami wasn't really punished at all for having this base out here while most of his eco was on the outside. Szalami now creeping up with those trebuchets. He's starting to take down the Barbican. On the outside, Core still has some berries to work with. He started taking some hunt, but now the enemy is crawling forward, so you will have to abandon those hunts. And this is exactly where Szalami would move his villagers in to take that hunt. Because as I said, he would be running out of space on the outside, so he can't really place a lot of farms. Best thing to do, move towards the middle and start grabbing those hunts. Looks like the horsemen will now jump on the crossbows. Men-at-arms join the party over here. And for now, with the Springles, the men-at-arms, the crossbows, this feels like a way better army for Szalami. He's going to force Core back, at least for time being. Springles will now target the Trebuchet, and Core is going to have to pull it off. Core is going to have to pull off that Trebuchet. For now, there is no angle for Szalami to shoot from, and he's going to have to call off his Springles as the cavalry comes close. But it's now a dance of siege, and when the dust settles, it's going to be 17 army for Core, and 60 for Szalami. Of course, some of that is trebuchets, but 60 military population versus 17 is a huge advantage for Szalami. He's now really leveraging that efficient production. As you see, archer range, barracks, that's all being supervised by a scholar. He's got, of course, the men-at-arms as well with the swords boosted. Cavalry now comes in, takes down one Springald. The second Springald is under attack as well. Looks like the second Springald doesn't get taken down though. Most of the cavalry from Core though getting killed by the men-at-arms. And as you see, Core is going to tap out here. He knows that he's got no army to stop this. The men-at-arms with the own blades were just owning those cavalry units out there. Crossbows helped a tiny bit. Trebuchets slowly grinding down the base of Core, and ultimately, Szalami's starting base was never really destroyed or even damaged. The castle was there, but there was no continuation for Core after that. He wasn't able to push Szalami at all, despite the fact that he was up to castle age a little faster, and losing all those palace guards also hurt. Because having all those palace guards be trapped, and then losing 8-9 palace guards in a situation where neither of the players had a ton of army is definitely something that's going to slow down the Chinese player here. And part of the reason why the base of Szalami was still standing is that the palace guards were never really able to do any damage in dirt, because they were sent to take the sacred site on the left. They got trapped, they got cleaned up, and in the end, it is going to be Szalami taking the win. So now, he's got 2 in a row. If you look at the economies, those are fairly comparable. Szalami actually had double the wood, but Core was also mining some stone out there, so slightly better eco for Szalami, but not by much. The key thing was Szalami's momentum, and he had a very well defendable economy, whereas in the middle, all those outlying buildings for Core, they just got taken down so easily.